The 9th annual African Women Writers Symposium kicks off tomorrow at the Soweto Theatre. The event will feature a range of acclaimed writers, activists and academics from across the continent. For more and beyond, actually, for more on the symposium, we're joined by writer and activist Rhodessa Jones and Roshni Moonsammy, who is the Symposium Director. A big thank you to both of you ladies for joining us this morning. Perhaps let's start with you, Ms. Moonsammy, and you can perhaps tell us, because it's in the 9th year, for viewers who are not quite familiar with it, what is the big idea?
The big idea about the African Women Writers Symposium is essentially to encourage debate, literacy, a love of reading, and promote new writings. We're just one of a small part of a greater need that is needed, you know, and looking at various contemporary issues in the continent, social political issues, as writers coming together, poets, people in the arts. And that's essentially the focus, you know, encouraging reading, new writings, debate, looking at where we are, how we stand within the world and the continent and the diaspora. And that's essentially the role of the African women writers, also doing workshops, bringing writers together like Ms. Jones, who has been here before working in our prisons, and she works in San Francisco, and together with South African writers like Shange, who wrote Cop Killer, and, you know, on Rosemary and Glovo, and basically, yeah, a whole collaboration.
Sure. Okay. Ms. Jones, what do we look like in 2023 from the work that you do?
Well, it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be female. Not that it's all perfect, but just to have a conference gets women, encourages women to share ideas, to talk like our mothers, our grandmothers really didn't get to do. And so it looks good, but there's so much work to be done. Mm-hmm. And I was just listening to another news story about children and malnutrition and being mothers. We're the ones expected to take care of the family and the world. So here we are. And but to answer your question, it's a great time to be alive, and I'm so glad to be back in South Africa. Raj and I have worked a lot together over the last
over 10 years.
Yeah, over the decade. And my heart is in working with women who are incarcerated, working with women in lockdown, young women, old women. And my lecture is going to be about the work that I've done. Women saving their own lives through the creative process, you know, and that we can save our own lives. We have to, you know, and this is an incredible opportunity for me, I'm so excited about meeting all the different minds and sister friends, and just to be in a space where we are expected, or we are allowed to discuss and take it apart and you know, be there to support each other, which is really wonderful to be in Africa doing this. I just flew in from San Francisco last night, so it's here to be.
And thank you very much for honoring our invite so early in the morning. But when you speak of the work that you do, taking a look at women saving their lives through the creating process, from women who are incarcerated in the United States to women who are incarcerated in South Africa at Sun City, what is it that you have found in terms of a common thread? Is there?
Well, I think with my work, which is so exciting and informative, is that it's a lot of questions. You know, I think it was Gertrude Stein on her deathbed. Her lover, Alice B. Toklas, was saying, "Oh, Gertrude, before you go, Gertrude, what are the answers? What are the answers?" And supposedly Gertrude Stein said, "My dear Alice, what are the questions?" And so that is how I approach my work with women all over the globe. You know, finding a place that we can talk, but you have to begin with questions. And so many women that are in lockdown, they're made to feel like they've already failed. They're angry, they're ashamed. And for me, it's like I want to honor the fact that they're still alive, and that there's something that even they know that we can all hold close to our breast and understand. But it begins with a series of questions, you know, about how did you break your own heart, which is what I found here in Africa, was a question that some of the women at Newzroom prison we came up with. That was one of them. How have you broken your own heart? What is it that you should know about me now? You know, and they're just, it's so heartful, you know. But I always believe it's beginning with the question, and there's so many different answers, and women given the space to respond. Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions for you, but Roshni, let's take a look at the lineup, right? So what is it who is this targeted at? So if somebody's watching right now, what do they need to know? Who can attend? What can they look forward to?
Okay, it's basically a diverse audience. It's intended for everybody, but with a focus on young people, you know. We're having people coming to the Soweto Theatre tomorrow. And it's open to everybody, but we're also having special groups of people coming from all over Gauteng, writers, people interested in the arts, people interested in questions and trying to find answers. And that starts tomorrow at 2. And if people want any more information, they're welcome to come. They can RSVP, but also go onto our Facebook page, the African Women Writers Network. It's just there, and they can come through. And then that's the first part. And then we do the second part next weekend at the Market Lab, the Photo Workshop Auditorium, which is opposite the Market Theatre, on Thursday and Friday. Again, that's going to be a series of workshops, panel discussions, and really great workshops for people interested in script writing, movie making. Also, there's a fantastic session on Saturday at about 4:30 with Mona El-Tahawi, the Egyptian feminist, and she'll be with the South African panel talking about misogyny and social media. You know, you have the likes of Andrew Tate, misogynist. How are we dealing with it? Young black men, white men, young and old, think he's a hero. But that's just one aspect of it. There's misogyny everywhere in our media, looking at, you know, the rights of people, human rights of people, being equal, being loved, and just being decent to each other. And then we also have the Nadine Gordimer In Memoriam lecture on the Friday that is presented by Professor Barbara Boswell. And that is at 5 o'clock at the Market Theatre Photo Workshop, open to the public. And every year we do the Nadine Gordimer In Memoriam lecture. And we've had various speakers in the past, from Tsitsi Dangaremba to Julian Slovo. So this is something to really look forward to. And, you know, we're just glad that it's happening, and thanks to the support of the Department of Arts and Culture, making it all possible for us.
And, of course, doors are open for men to attend the session.
Yes, we have males on our panels. We love men, and we love women as well.
Sure.
So it's open to everybody.
Okay, and I understand for the first time ever this year, you're going to be having the African Women Writers Literary Award.
Yes, we're launching it, so it's in its infancy. And we'll have a speech by Professor Pamela Nichols from the Wits Writing Center. So we're hoping to have this award happen next year. People can apply if to be considered for the award, with everybody based within the continent. And we'll have different sections still to be ironed out. You know, new writings, established writers. We're looking at it because, you know, it does not exist. And it's something that should have.
Yeah. Ms. Jones, when you asked the question, how, why, when did you break your own heart, what drew your heart to women who are incarcerated?
I got a call from the California Arts Council almost 40 years ago, and my reputation was such that I was able to work with very small children, involving their families, their grandparents, their race, their ethnicity. And so the California Arts Council, which is a big arts-funded, arts-based organization in California, they asked me, would I go into the jails and teach aerobics to incarcerated women? I'm like, aerobics? What does that got to do with saving women's lives? But it was an in. And I went in, and I was surprised at all the women that were in lockdown. I mean, I come from a family of 8 brothers. I had a brother who was at Attica prison when it fell many, many years ago. So I knew something about men being incarcerated, but to see so many women, and they were just mad as hell. They were just angry. And at the same time, they were fascinated with me because I had just turned like 40, 42, and I was doing cartwheels and handstands, and I'm talking about my life, and they're like, who is this? But they didn't leave. They kind of hung on to my words, and it was the beginning of a conversation with them about their lives and who they were. And I wanted to impress upon them that all is not lost simply because you're in lockdown. Maybe this would be a great time to examine where you've been, what you've done. What could you tell your child? What can you tell your younger sister about life as it was? But that's what drew me, was just this crazy invitation to come in and teach aerobics to incarcerated women. And they weren't interested in that, but I'm a performing artist, so I knew I had the floor. So I got their attention, you know, and I was older than all of them,
sure,
you know.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'd had a baby at 16, and I talked about that, and that there was much more familiarity. They were like, oh, she's not some snobby woman over here. And that was the beginning of what has been now 40 years of working with women around the globe, yeah.
That 40 years of working with women around the globe, you said an important word. You mentioned how this is not even something that you're like, what does aerobics have to do with me? But it was an in.
Yes.
And so for this symposium, when somebody is looking at this and they're thinking, but I don't want to do that. I just want to get to that part where I'm acting and I'm, never mind that other stuff. But that word, it was an in, yes. An in that has since changed your life. Talk to our viewers, or talk to somebody who does not appreciate the power of an in.
You have to be open to an end. You have to be engaged socially with that intention. How do we make room for other people? It's not always about us, especially when you're feeling successful or you're not grappling with the imposter syndrome, which I hear more and more. But be open to listening, because something will tap you on your consciousness. It's like, I did a piece many years ago when I first started working in the jails, because I'm a performing artist. It was a solo work, Big Butt Girls, Hard-Headed Women. And it was about all the women I met 1 year inside, and I took on all of those personalities. And I didn't leave the stage. I just simply changed my body and my voice. And I remember a young black woman saying to me at a black theater festival, she said, well, I don't know anybody in this world. I don't know anybody in this milieu. I said, think again. What about the cousin that you were told not to hang out with because she was wild? She was a little bit too racy. And this woman starts looking at me. I said, and I looked through it, and there was about 6 of us sitting there. And I said, all of us. Who was the cousin? Who was the auntie that you were forewarned, don't hang out with these people? And the one woman who had said she didn't know anybody, her eyes filled up with water. And she said, I have to confess, and this is what blew my mind. She says, my twin sister is in prison in Arizona, and I haven't seen her in 10 years. And I had totally wiped her out of my purview. And I said, really? She said, and now you brought her all back to me. I said, what are you going to do? She says, I'm going to go see her. I'm going to go find out how she's doing. Because this woman had, she was a scholar. She was teaching at the University of Miami. This one that I was talking to. And she had found her life. And at the same time, she had conveniently chopped off her twin sister, not just her sister. And that was like, as you were just talking to me, it came into my brain that has never left me, that I found a woman who was willing to admit that she had literally put her sister aside in the culture that says, be a good girl, be a nice girl, whatever that means.
whatever that means.
Right.
Roshni, you mentioned RSVPing. Is it free? If I don't RSVP, can I just show up?
You can show up tomorrow, but it's good for the smaller workshops to RSVP, afroartsurban@gmail.com, but also on the Facebook page, African Women Writers Network. You'll get all the information. Tomorrow, it's a big theatre. The Soweto Theatre is absolutely fabulous. And it will be live streamed on the page, African Women Writers Network. So you can watch it on live stream and on discover.tv, but or afroarts.co.za. But just get to the page. It will be live streamed, and there will be a huge audience, and it's going to be a fun day.
Sure. Do you have a favorite writer? I'm not putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I do have a favorite writer. I have a few. I do like reading Margaret Dumas and various others. I like I've written Claudia Rankine, those kind of writers I do. They've been out to the festival, and I admire them.
Okay. What tickles your fancy, Miss Jones?
About this in particular, I'm going to meet a lot of women because I am American. It's going to be interesting to meet women writers from Africa. That is going to be, I'm really excited about that, about making that connection. Because Roshni, I was saying to her last night, but when were you last in the States? She said, December. It's like, and before the pandemic, we had been back and forth. And so I'm ready to kind of settle into being home in a certain sense, and being a woman of African descent in Africa, and at the same time amongst writers and thinkers and doers. So I'm just all pumped. I'm very excited about it, yes.
Well, we wish you a very fruitful trip and a fruitful stay. Thank you very much, ladies, for your time this morning. Ms. Rhodessa Jones and Roshni Moonsammy is the Symposium Director at the annual African Women Writers Symposium. It will be taking place. It kicks off tomorrow at the Soweto Theatre from 2 p.m. You can make your way there if you are keen.